see, no more there. Next one's on bottling carbonation. Michael H. asks, I'm looking to make a sparkling mead but lacked forced carbonation equipment. My first attempt at bottle conditioning produced an undercarbonated mead with a large amount of sediment that was easily disturbed. I'm not sure if it was because I used champagne yeast, and I'm pretty sure I was not at the upper limit of the alcohol tolerance. I used priming sugar, as one might do with beer. These are problems I've never had with bottle conditioned beer. Do you have any suggestions? Just bottle conditioned sparkling mead a bad idea? In general, I think making sparkling mead without having forced carbonation equipment is quite difficult. Basically, you've got a couple of different problems. As a variation on beer brewing, you have long-chain dextrins, which are long-chain sugar carbohydrates that the beer yeast are typically not able to consume. They add body, they add residual sweetness that the yeast that you give priming sugar to, you're adding simple sugar to it, and the yeast eat that, and there's still all that long-chain sugar is left behind. The problem with mead is about, mead is 79% sugar, 17% water, 4% other. Of that 79% that is sugar, 80% of that is fructose and glucose, which are the simplest sugars you can get to. Basically, sucrose only, which is the two combined together, is only about 1.5% of the total constitution. And your long chain sugars are like, rather than 25% of beer, they're only like 1.5%. So that's why it doesn't go completely bone dry. You typically stop about 996. So when you add priming sugar, the yeast doesn't know any different. It's not, there's no residual. If you like bone dry mead, you might be able to get away with it. If you're stabilizing with sorbates, adding anything to any priming sugar is not going to do anything. The yeast are not reproducing, so whatever yeast are in there, they might eat your sugar, but if you've already racked off it and it looks fairly clear and you've added sorbates to it, only the yeast that are still alive are going to eat that. They will not create any more yeast to try to eat that. So that's probably part of the reason why it was undercarbonated. The reason why so we weren't sure if you were at the upper limit of alcohol tolerance. For champagne yeast, man, that can go pretty high. That can go 18, 19% pretty easily if you're using like EC 1118 or K1V. Those can go quite high, and they'll just eat it and kick out a little small amount of CO2, and not really, it's kind of hard to dial in. You could do pasteurization, but that's kind of sketchy. It's really easy to overdo it, and you can have bottle bombs. So you can, I've never done at-home pasteurization. I've looked on Homebrew Talk before, and I've seen people do that. It looks scary to me. I don't like the idea of bottle bombs in my hands. I've had meads that are re-fermented and in crown cap, and then you have to put gloves on, heavy leather gloves to crack that top. It will explode and cut yourself really, really bad. So I'm not making the recommendation to do that. You're kind of on your own if you feel you want to read some stuff and try to do pasteurization. Basically, it's just making, you're bringing the internal temperature up to 180 degrees once you have carbonation. I've seen people beforehand that put them in glass bottles, and they also put it in like a 2-liter and push a lot of the air out of it. And when the 2-liter gets firm, they know the glass bottles kind of have about that same amount of carbonation in them, and then they'll either pasteurize them or they'll just keep them cold and drink them fast. But not really recommended for long-term aging or keeping them cold. Keeping them cold, like nearly frozen in your refrigerator, like 37 degrees or colder, and tends to keep the CO2 in solution, so it doesn't come out of solution. It also tends to keep the yeast at bay, not really consuming any more sugar. Michael says, nope, no bottle bombs. Why don't we try? Thanks for the answer. Yep, bottle bombs are scary. So yeah, champagne bottles, I think most beer bottles can handle about 3.0 volumes, maybe up to 3.3, and other champagne bottles can handle like 5 to 6 volumes.